Hello, Andreas here, business coach and mentor. I would like to share with you a story about one of my clients. His name is Alexis, and he came to me just during the pandemic last year. And he had a real challenge on hand. He was running a graphic design business that specializes in exhibitions and live shows. And as we know, during the pandemic, nothing like that happened at all. So his business landed on its belly and it basically died overnight. So during the last year when we reinvented him, so Alexis had a big moment in his time where he really realized what is it that he's actually really, really passionate about. And so he did a right angle turn, reinvented himself and his business, and came out the other end much, much better than he ever went in. And that's a story I would like to share with you today. Today I'm interviewing Alexis Rendell. He's the CEO and founder of Engage Global 2019, and I wanted to learn more about his particular journey of how he transitioned from what he did in the past to what he does now. So Alexis, thanks for coming in, talking to me today. So I understand that you had a massive transition from, I think it stems from what happened in the pandemic to your business, and now you're in a completely different place to where you started off.
That's right.
In like beginning of 2020. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So what happened was my background was I spent 25 years in a large international corporate environment, spending an awful lot of time overseas, particularly in China. But my background is a designer, graphic designer, and and that's what I did. And I specialised in event publishing towards the end. And
is that what you did in the corporate life? Yeah,
that's what I did in corporate life. Yeah, so that was part of my corporate life, was looking after sort of daily newspapers at big trade shows and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I carried that on into my business, and then with some graphic design elements as well on the side. But with the pandemic, obviously with the events, I had bookings which were cancelled for obvious reasons.
What kind of events are we looking at?
You're looking at sort of trade shows, sort of air shows.
Yeah, sure.
Overseas. So, for example, Saudi Arabia, and Dubai and things like that.
And what would you deliver for these shows? You would do the art design for the.
That's right. So it's a daily newspaper. So I ran the production desk and obviously the layout as well. So it's making sure that. So what would happen is there'd be a team of journalists. They turn up on the site. We'd have all our kit, and literally producing a newspaper of all the events and the news, breaking news of that day.
All right.
And then the exhibitors and the visitors would get a newspaper the following morning when they turn up.
Right.
And they see themselves there.
And it would summarize the previous day, yeah?
That's right.
Right.
That's right, yes. And it was very popular. I mean, some of them were sort of tabloid size, some were just magazine size, depending on the requirements of the show, really.
Okay, and how big are these shows? I mean, I've never been to the Saudi Arabian air show. Is that a massive event?
It's pretty big.
Right.
It's not obviously the size of Farnborough Air Show. It's the size of it's a business show. These are business shows.
Right.
You wouldn't get the general public turning up to look at these things. It's where lots of business is done.
So is this where they're selling airplanes and gear and stuff like
That's
this?
right.
Everything related that you need.
That's right.
In the aviation industry.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. So these shows wouldn't. They're not as say the sort of the plane spotter type shows.
Right.
These are shows where it's big business. So think
Right.
Paris Air Show, think Farnborough Air Show, and those are probably the two biggest in the world. But then you've got other shows like Singapore, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. But then also you have AGMs, for example. In Latin America and regional ones like that, and there's other ones like IATA, and these are not trade shows. These are the people that run the aviation business,
Right.
And this is a journal of record. This is what's happened the day before,
Right.
And a lot of these guests would be quite impressed to see. You've actually got a newspaper of actually what's happened the day before.
Right. That's good.
And usually these shows sustain at least 2 publications. So there'd be something that I'd be working for, the organisation I'm working for, but then there'd be another
major publication that comes out
at the same
alongside
time.
you, parallel what you do. Okay.
That's right, yeah, and it's competition. and it's who can get the best news and the best stories and things like that. It really is competition.
And so is it that the organizers would pay for that, or do you have to buy that as you attend the show?
No, so these are free to people arriving.
Okay.
People don't pay for them. The organisers in some instances would pay for these to be done. In other instances, it's all just on ad revenue.
Right. And you organised one of those publications that would be then on one of those shows, yeah?
That's right.
You would be doing everything for that organizer. You would then say for that, for the people that organize the air show, they would commission you and say, we want this kind of newspaper coming out daily, and you then take that from there and do all the graphics, the editing, everything for it.
Not just me. I looked after the production side.
All right.
So I was the person that made sure that it got out on time to the required specification. The editorial side would be looked after by the editor,
all right,
and he's the one that has obviously final sign-off and whatever. And he's the person that the organisers would be talking to.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you left the corporate world.
Yeah.
And then did you continue exactly the same afterwards? Or?
No, I was more of a subcontractor,
Right.
but doing the same kind of work. But at the same time, I did more general graphic design work. Still doing magazines.
Oh, you still do magazines?
Yeah, bits and pieces of those.
Yeah.
And also more generic things like logos and all that kind of stuff. But what happened was that there's when I first left college a long time ago, it was a skill. But now, obviously, with modern technology, and it's the same across the board, whether it's photography or video or whatever, there's software out there which is available to everybody. Things are getting smarter. You can get apps on your phone which can do a lot of these logos and graphics and things. But also, a lot of these organisations, these companies which produce these apps, they have templates as well, and you can buy off-the-shelf templates which are perfectly good. And a lot of smaller companies would actually think, well, I can get this template. I've got somebody here who's pretty good with the computer. I can do this stuff myself.
So they don't need your services
They
anymore.
don't. And so that leaves the people that just wanted to look at, well, what can I get cheaper? I'm not going to pay for an app.
Right.
I want this as cheap as possible.
Right.
And quite frankly, I don't want to get into that realm really, because you're competing with people who are first year at art college.
It's a race to the bottom, isn't it?
It is, and that's not my cup of tea.
Okay. And did that become clear before the pandemic, or what?
No, that was starting to
to kind of crystallize. Yeah.
That's right. That was crystallizing. But then, with the bookings that I'd had, mainly for the events, during the pandemic, they just evaporated.
Oh, right. That was in March 2020, when it became announced that the world is going into a kind of a massive problem crisis.
That's right.
You went, and so then the cancellation coming in.
Well, they weren't cancellations; they were postponements.
Right, postponements.
They say, we'll put these off for a few months. We'll probably do this later in the year rather than earlier in the year. Then we'll put it forward to the next, the new year.
Right.
And then they were just cancelled.
Just cancelled, right. And so your business suddenly fell on its its back, and that was it.
Yeah.
And what happened then? How did you recover? And what happened in your head?
Well, and this is where you came in, basically.
Right.
We had, I had been talking to you for a while about this.
Yeah.
And obviously I'd come to you to help me sort of get my business going. But
as your coach, yeah.
As my coach, yeah. And that, despite our best efforts, things just weren't working. But having had the long conversation, and you kind of guided me into, what is it that I can do that I want to be doing that can make me money, and that I enjoy doing, that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, yeah.
And looking and sort of reflecting back on my corporate life, I spent a lot of time. So whilst I did do a lot of time travelling to do these trade shows, I also ran various offices around the world, particularly in China. There were 2 offices in China that I ran, and actually created teams out there as well. So I ran a translation team, a design team, and a copy editing team. And on the back of that, because I spent a lot of time there, I got to meet a lot of people and made a lot of contacts. And Guangzhou was one of the principal places that I was based.
Right.
And I was there at least a week every month.
Oh, really?
For quite some time.
Wow.
So the longest I spent there was about 6 weeks, I think.
Okay.
In all. That's continuously being in that place. And through either through contacts in the office I was in, and I made friends when I was there.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, some were expats, but they introduced me to other people, business owners and things like that. But in Guangzhou, there is the biggest trade show in the world.
Right.
So you have over 48,000 exhibitors.
Wow.
Over a 3-week period. And that's broken down into different industries over those 3 weeks. So week one would be, for example, consumer electronics and automotive.
Yeah.
Week 2 would be home products and say textiles. And week 3 would be, I don't know, toys and other things. And
so it sounds like they cover all the sectors.
Oh, pretty much.
Oh, right.
I mean, they don't do things like ships or planes.
Okay.
I mean, that's something separate. But pretty much anything that you can put into a home or take home.
Okay. Or you can use as some gadget.
That's right.
Is what's there on show, right?
That's right. And they have purpose-built halls, which are vast.
Yeah.
I mean, they are huge. And this would happen twice a year. So you have them in April and you have it in October.
Right.
And the whole city would be swamped. I mean, they have, I can't put exact numbers on it. I mean,
how big is this city of Guangzhou?
Guangzhou is about 22 million.
22 million?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the third largest city in China.
So we're not talking about, Southampton down the road.
No.
It is 22 million inhabitants. Yeah. Wow.
And so it can be, and so I remember the very first time I went to Guangzhou, it was pretty daunting. I literally got told, you have to go to the office out there. Here you go.
Here's your address.
Here's your address you've got to get to. Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, the very first time I went to the office, I went to the wrong building. Right. And that's me, giving this piece of paper to the taxi driver, and even he got the wrong building. So, we were close. It was a 5-minute walk across the road, but anyway.
Still found it after all.
I got it there in the end. So that got me thinking,
You want to go back to your roots.
Yeah.
Kind of, not your roots, but your passion.
Yeah.
Because you obviously enjoyed working there.
I loved working there. I loved the people, and I loved travel.
Right.
And I thought, well, how can I help people with this? And one of the things I had to do when the rest of the company were catching up with the work that we were doing in China, I was forever taking people over to China and introducing them to the office, and then organising things in the evening. So that got me thinking, obviously in conversation with you, well, actually, why not combine these elements, the organisational aspect of it, and my contacts that I have out there, and help businesses in this country connect with businesses in China, either through the Canton trade show, or through some of the contacts that I know. Now, a lot of the contacts I know are in the textile business. Right. And textiles is one of the major industries in Guangzhou. If you look at something that says made in China, a garment that says made in China, chances are it's made in Guangzhou. 90% of all textiles are made in Guangzhou.
Wow, okay.
Or thereabouts. And the other thing which I also do, and I just love drinking basically, is tea.
Tea.
And very early on in my visits to China, I had the good fortune to go out with the office manager, whose husband happened to be a tea merchant.
Right.
And we spent a day at a tea market.
Right.
Tasting teas.
Right.
And that really got me going, because I didn't realise the depth, or the differences in teas, and the qualities of the teas. I mean, and I'm not talking about sort of tea bags here. Kind of some of the generic things. Tea and
so. Yeah. So you're saying there was a market that was just for tea?
Absolutely.
They didn't sell anything else but teas.
It's only tea, and it was okay, it's a city of 22 million, but this was a big place.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're quite close to Southampton and West Quay. I mean, this market was about the size, it was bigger than West Quay.
Wow. So there was a lot of tea merchants there.
There were a lot of tea merchants.
And so you got exposed to Chinese tea and drank it and obviously enjoyed it and loved it. And
absolutely.
All right.
And wanted other people to share my passion for it as well. And
what makes it so different to the tea we drink over here? I mean, when you get it's a silly question in a way, but the question really is, yeah, I get that there's obviously a quality difference, but you get very high quality, good, I don't know, like green tea or other teas that come from those regions. Are they that much in difference to what you've experienced there? Is there a complete different taste to it?
I think the best analogy I can think of is like wine. So like wine, you know, it depends on where it's grown, who runs the vineyard and who makes the wine, how old is the wine, the kind of, you know, the actual variety of wine, you know, the grape and all of that all is absolutely applicable to tea. So depending on the elevation above sea level, the way the slopes are facing, all of this, same as wine, you know.
Has an effect on the tea plant.
That's right. And all of this, and again, the region. And I mean, the best example I can give is that on my visit to that tea market, I was presented with, well, basically, there were 2 cups put in front of me. 2 teapots came along. The tea looked almost the same. One was slightly darker than the other. Yeah. And I was told, just have a sample, you know, taste each one.
Yeah.
And I said, right, what do you think? I said, well, these are pretty decent. You know, the first one I had, absolutely fantastic. And the best, what I can describe of, is it was like buttered popcorn.
Buttered popcorn?
Yeah. I thought, that's a really weird taste. I hadn't tasted that before. I said, well, taste the other one then. Again, buttered popcorn, but it was very sort of velvety and smooth, and there was a fantastic aftertaste. And you know, in between the two, obviously, I had a glass of water to cleanse the palate and everything.
To neutralise your palate,
yeah. And then I was told, well, one of those was $20 for 10 grams. Yeah. The other one was $300 for 20 grams. Which one is which? I said, well, I think the second one, the smooth one, I think that must be the expensive one. And I was right, I'm glad to say.
Right, Didn't insult them.
No, but again, and it's like a really good wine. You know, you can have, you know, £10 bottle of wine, or even £6 bottle of wine, and it's decent stuff. It tastes really nice. But then when you have something which is,
well, you gave it $300 bottle of wine. Yeah, which is on a different level.
It's very different level.
So is it that intricate? Is it that? Not particular, but that is there such big differentiator between those different? I guess they then have certain age groups. Yeah,
that's right.
You know, I mean, these plants when they dry, they can be stored forever, right? Really?
Well, some teas. So there are some teas which are best drunk fresh. Okay. You know, sort of freshly picked and things. You know, like a what is it, Beaujolais or something?
Yeah.
You know, Beaujolais Nouveau,
straight
whatever.
after the harvest.
That's it. And some of those. So you know, some of the white teas are like that. They're the best drunk fresh. Some of the other teas, like Pu'er, for example, you know, you have good years and you have vintages and things like that, and you know you've got to look after that, and the way it's stored as well. You can't just stick all these different teas into the same box. You know, you need to look after them.
So you turned this now into a business.
That's right.
And so if I understand you correctly, you've got your business where you take business owners over to China.
That's right.
To introduce them straight to the manufacturers. You cut out the middleman so they can buy directly, and you make those connections.
That's right.
And you take them also to the trade fairs to perhaps see new stuff that they haven't got yet, and that excites them, and that they can then, you know, import back into the UK. Yeah. And on the other side, your business is tea importing, where you import all those fine teas that you've just talked about back into the UK to say, you know, not back into the UK, but into the UK to help people experience that same level that you had.
That's right.
We talked about that mind shift from what you previously did, then you were hit by the pandemic. You needed to do a right angle turn and go, whoa, I can't do this anymore. And plus, this is not really where my passion is. And then you shifted to, I know now which direction I'm going to. How difficult did you find that, and how did you do it?
A lot of help from you, basically. So so that process was initially, how do I do this? I want to do this. How do I do it? And it was so parts of it, particularly the tea importing part, is so different to what I've done before. I just need to start from somewhere, and I just needed guidance on, and I felt safe knowing that I had somebody that could guide me on this, and that's based on the fact that in the previous months when I got stuck, I talked to you about it. Talk to this guy, or read this, or do that, and they all worked. So on that basis, I felt secure in the knowledge that I've got somebody who's guiding me in the right direction. So that was the first thing. With the actual visit to Guangzhou, I'd kind of been doing that already anyway, as I already mentioned. So that bit wasn't too much. Or the only difference being that I was doing it for people that weren't in the same company as me. It was people that were paying me to take them. So that was the only difference.
That's the only difference, right?
And so that bit I was pretty relaxed about, actually.
Yeah.
And so the difference there is the fact that it was an all-inclusive. That my view is that I wished that somebody had taken me like that the first time, and I was thinking about how would I want them, how would I have wanted to go in the first time, and that's everything organised for me, basically. And it can be really daunting going to somewhere like China for the first time, where the language, both visual and spoken, is so very different to anything that you're used to in this country. It really is challenging. I think it's fair to say that in some of the more central areas where they're used to people visiting, there are some people that speak English, but on the whole,
not that many.
A lot of the younger people do, but certainly older people don't. But with the tea importing bit, that's something which was very alien to me, and it was daunting. But I like a challenge, and it really sort of got me going. I got really fired up on that, and I haven't thought about I can't do this. That bit just hasn't crossed my mind, to be honest. I thought it's going to be difficult, and it has been challenging. But I've never thought it can't be done.
So do you feel like that you are in a good place now? Is this that you've got direction, you know where you're going, and you got a plan in place? You obviously have. And that everything is, your passion is in it. So you do what you love doing, and that you're now on the right tracks.
Definitely.
Right.
Most definitely. And one of the other kind of side benefits is that I can still use the skills, my design skills, coming through on the designing of packaging, for example, and of the literature, and also helping people when if they're taking their business cards and whatever, I have the contacts to be able to get all that translated for them. And get that design for them.
And what do you think would have happened if you wouldn't had a coach on your side during that difficult period? Where would you be now?
Probably in the gig economy, delivering parcels in a car, probably.
Right. So that was really transformational for you.
Very much so.
Wow. I'm glad. Honored to be your coach.
I'm glad that you are. No, I'm glad you are.
With that transformation. That's great. So what's next for you? What's the next big thing for you then? So in that development?
In that development, that's a good question.
I'll put it up. When is the next trip to China?
Okay. So actually, so at the moment, there is a slight problem in that people from the UK are not allowed actually into China,
Right.
because of COVID.
Right.
And also China at the moment is very strict on entry because of COVID as well. So they have the Beijing Winter Olympics coming up
Right.
very soon. So there are local lockdowns being introduced all the time, not just in Beijing, but Guangzhou, Shanghai, anywhere.
So you're saying that British people can't go to the Winter Olympics?
That's I'm not sure, but that's my understanding.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
So you're waiting for the kind of sanctions to lift.
That's right.
As soon as they lift, you get your group over there, yeah?
That's right.
Okay.
And so the next visit will be April 2022.
Is that for the next trade fair then?
Next trade fair. Yes. So
you're taking reservations right now?
that's
for the
right.
visit?
Yeah, and people are showing interest already.
Yeah.
And really keen. And as I say, or as you mentioned, it's looking at not necessarily people who already have things they buy already from China. This is looking for people who also want to see, what's slightly different. How can I get competitive advantage? I can give you an example. Before, everybody's got little mini speakers now, portable speakers and things. But I first saw that over there to the extent that I bought loads for my friends, basically.
Yeah.
They sort of gave me the money and
Yeah.
I bought them back for them and things
Yeah.
like that. And they were just blown away with the quality.
Yeah.
And they were really good quality. And that was a year or two before the actual market exploded with these things. And so that's the thing. You can just go and see what is the...
And you can gain a massive market advantage by
Exactly.
being there first and
Yeah.
getting stuff over that nobody even seen before. And
Yeah,
before it becomes a trend, you could be the trendsetter.
exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
That's good. And then so Christmas is coming up,
Mhm.
right? Big time of the year, especially for gifts and stuff. Do you offer tea gifts? Do you offer anything that's exciting for people to buy from you during
Yeah.
that period? And
So at this moment in time, I'm putting together some gift packs,
Mhm.
ranging from kind of some Christmas teas
Mhm.
through to some teaware,
Yeah.
I mean, Chinese tea sets are really nice. So, some
They're
people
very
call them-
intricate, aren't
yeah,
they?
they call them miniature tea sets. But actually, that is the full-size tea set.
Yeah.
So you refill the pot, a number of times. You don't just have it sitting there stewing the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
time. It's constantly being
Right.
refreshed. And I'll be selling. I was having a stall at a couple of local events coming up
Yeah.
in December
Okay.
for Christmas
All right.
as well.
So that's where people can see and meet you.
That's right.
All right. So
Possibly even sample the tea
yeah.
if I'm allowed to.
So how excited are you about the future now?
I can't wait. It's just going now.
Yeah.
So we've got a new website going live very soon,
Mm.
so you can see all this stuff. And as I say, taking bookings already for April
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
And at there is no minimum number of people to go.
You can take as many
As little or as many as
Okay.
possible. And it's not just to the Canton Trade Fair. If somebody really wants to go, they know where it's being manufactured, they know the site,
Yeah.
but it just seems a bit daunting to get there.
Yeah.
I can help with that as well.
Yeah.
As I say, I have a whole number of people, interpreters, translators, who can help
Yeah.
and assist and accompany that person.
Wow, great.
And I could be the guide as well,
Right.
just to so that in the
It's
evenings.
a one-stop shop, really, isn't it?
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I could help with the visa as well,
Yeah. So you can do the whole lot.
the whole lot.
Wow.
You know,
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
The flights, the hotel, the transfers,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And that's if the person wants it. If the person says, actually, I'm fine
Yeah.
with this amount, that's also fine.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And just to go back to that impact that the coaching had on your life and how it changed kind of your vision and your life purpose around for what you're doing now. And it sounded like it had a real big impact on you as a person.
Yeah.
What would you say to any business owners who are considering coaching but not quite sure yet, kind of they're sitting on the fence? what would you recommend them they do about the coaching, or is that, what would you say?
I think that they should just do it. It's a no-brainer. And to sort of quote something that I've heard you say a few times, is you wouldn't send a professional sports team out without a coach.
Mm.
You wouldn't expect them to be able to just turn up on the pitch and play a decent game without a decent coach backing them up. And it's exactly the same in business.
Yeah.
You've got that person that can give you support and guidance, but be honest and critical. And that's what you need, because friends and family will sometimes say, yeah, well, that's a good idea. Oh yeah, that's great. Well done, and all the rest, and keep you going, because they haven't got the knowledge themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't want to hurt your feelings. And the business coach, to me, has been that person that is brutally honest,
Mm-hmm.
and say, that's not working. You need to be doing it this way, or try something different, and put me in the right direction, and it has worked.
Mm. Brilliant. Well, it's been over a year now. We've been working together over a year.
That's right, yeah.
So, and it's been a pleasure, and it's been amazing, by the way, to see you, do this turn and, go from, oh my God, everything is closing, no business is out there, what am I going to do, to then that turn, and then to go, actually, this is what I really want to do in life, and I will put everything in it. And you have put a lot of effort in it, and now you've got a great company. And so, so Alexis, it's been a pleasure working with you.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Cheers to your great future.
Thank you very much,
very much.
Andreas. It's been brilliant. Thank you.